Can you all see me, social media family? As you all know, I have yet to place that been own electronic personal device or computer, and that being shop so that a technician can or could possibly do the necessary repairs. So therefore, I'm having to turn the backside of it toward me so that you all can or could possibly equally well see me and then my personal drugs here from me. But at a some such given moment in time. Okay, I'm trying to get this here situated. And as you all know, I usually broadcast for that being on average something like half an hour. That's 30 minutes, give or take. Sometimes I broadcast for a much longer length of a time frame period, and sometimes for a much shorter one. But then the present social media broadcast is regarding, so far as concerning, as it's making reference to that being of a male person of the likes of a character who is of the rank and file of the homeless racial statistical percentiles or percentages of the derelict trances or whatever I would say, or to simply say being one of the, shyster homeless bums, you know, the kind, especially of the drunks and hypes, as the majority or most of them are only that way, being that because they prefer to live that particular alternative lifestyle preference of an option for them or for their own personal existence. And whereas at one time or another, I had encountered this one in particular of a male personal character, or like this kind of dime a dozen derelict transients or homeless bums or drunks and hypes, who, not that all homeless are into spending up money that could be used as a down payment to pay rent somewhere. But I had encountered this here one particular male character of a homeless drunken bum of a white guy, a white fella, can you believe it? Who had took me for a ride, took me to the cleaners and hanged me out to dry. And as I met him in the branch headquarters library, as some of such given over time, across the street from where I'm at now, it's that red building, and whereas I would have done, this here social media broadcast or video content, much earlier, like say sometime yesterday, but for some reason or another, it would more than seem like as if I myself personally had gotten hacked by the likes of a computer hacker, and for my own private personal Wi-Fi back at my place of residence, and for giving address location, which now I am a resident or tenant within, one of not just a worst of, but one of the worstest of the incendiary neighborhood communities. Thanks to one of my past dime a dozen neighbors from damn hell characters having flipped the script upon me after I went through all the proper policies and procedures and protocol to state my grievances, as in complain about his daily and nightly routine of not only violating his own apartment rental lease agreement, but likewise disregarding, ignoring, or disrespecting my rights and privileges as his fellow neighbor. And whereas he himself had retaliated out of resentment by managing to successfully get the management of the building, administrator, real estate representative personnel, to give me the walking papers, being which he should have received, being of which is something similar to an eviction notice, being of a non-renewal of an apartment rental lease agreement memo document of paperwork. And whereas from there, upon some such short notice, I am having to consider or reconsider one of my least alternative options just to keep from becoming the rank and file of the homeless by relocating as and moving to simply say that being in my own personal effects, belongings, or possessions to that being one of the less preferred, blah, 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 as I was saying in more words less. And by how I had transacted business with one of the ethnic minority landlords or one of these ethnic minority neighborhood communities for the vicinity area within city limits, and that's what I did, and that's where I'm at now in one of some of such, and therefore, I'm having to do whatever. And that same time, I thought for my own personal survival to continue to pay annual monthly rent, utilities, and etc. Was I invited this homeless white boy there, and he took advantage of me, you know. Whereas at one time or another, trying to see how many more minutes I have left. Okay, I haven't yet reached 1/3 of the usual half an hour or 30 minutes, which I would broadcast social media content for you. But it's coming up on that. But anyway, though, getting back to some of such other, as I was saying, and whereas I had met this, or as I think of it with that, my attempt to try backtrack here, purpose being, or else I go on to follow to continue for where and when that my person had last left off, so I can finish up as complete a form of previous pattern I taught in the same sense of word. And whereas I had, invited him to spend the night with me or an evening back in my own pad as a place of residence. Only after I had, like, first of all, I put money down on a table where he was sitting at, alongside of, in conjunction to the one where I was seated at as a patron of this one library facility within the downtown district of the Cincy area, neighborhood community, being of the business and school hub of our own city, or great metropolis as we have it, for the city of metropolitan Chicago, Illinois, you know. And then against my better judgment, I had extended the invitation or offer to permit him to spend a night with me or evening back in my own pad of a place of residence apartment. Only after I had given money, and then I had, paid for his meals, for the atmosphere, friends, the properties of the public facility of a restaurant, not fast food place, but a restaurant. Paid for his lunch meal with money out of my own pocket in a wallet, you know. And then I had bought gas for his lemon of a car, broken down, whatchamacallit, automobile, motor vehicle, or whatever it's to be called. Well, I know it looked like a disaster. And then last but not least, I permitted him to spend the night with me back at my place of residence. What happened to the apartment for my own private facility for its friends and property for a public building at its location, with the many different apartment complexes. And only to find out much later, after I had extended him an offer for one of my much more regularly attended self-help recovery program meetings compared to one of my less frequent ones, that although he claims he not any longer has it, but he was supposed to have had at one time or another something like $900 in the GoFundMe account, you know. And I'm wondering, why didn't he use some of that money, to get him a hotel or motel room, so my fellow self-help recovery buddies are wondering the same. But anyway, before all that, I had spent a night at my place of residence, and where I had given him back that is little actual back bedroom to my place of residence of apartment, whereas I had use my living room area as a makeshift bedroom where I usually sleep anyway. Wanted to find him standing in the entrance doorway of some such at something like 5 o'clock in the morning, crack of dawn, and it spooked the damn hell out of me as a believer in God. So how much more would it spook me if I was still an unbeliever or a non-believer? But I tried to shrug it off. So then and there, I invited him to one of my self-help recovery program meetings. Only to find out that he had, he, I don't know, well, he claimed he not any longer has $900 in a GoFundMe account, and with my self-help recovery buddies, as well as I was thinking, he wasn't going to give me one red cent of that. And I should have seen the signs that one time or another, he was like, mouth how I have this rich relative, and whereas he himself is going to break me off a piece of money, and blah, 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 blah. And I took it then because he's white, and whereas I noticed that in the library where I met him to begin with, he had a working cell phone, a working laptop, and last but not least, some kind of lemon of a car. So I don't know, for some reason or other, it completely slipped my mind not to ask him, do we have any money coming in? Otherwise, he wouldn't have got past the threshold to my own place of residence apartment. I had to watch it. I record. And they might mistake. Okay. Getting back to something such other. And so, here it is after all that good Samaritan stuff I did for him, because eventually I kicked him to the curb. Yes, obviously, you know, or eventually I would, you know. Well, it's kind of crazy. Anyway, so something like, oh, weeks or months later, well, I would say for a time frame period about maybe a month and a half. Here it is, he sends me a text message, implying how he will put out an order of protection, restraining order, or whatever, or however say it, I want to put it, in name to describe paperwork documents against my person. Whereas I'm like saying from there, if anything, I should put in a order of protection against you. And being which I'm in the process of doing, let me show you all the paperwork documents. Get out my bag. Just a minute. Whereas I'm like having to rush to a police station, to find out what exactly I have to do. In that same line of thought, in the sense of word, whereas I thought for meant that maybe I could get that business taken care of then and there at any local police station. Only to find out he said, no, you have to go elsewhere where we will send you from the police station, where they will send you from the police station, whatever I would say, before you can take care of that necessary business. That somebody told me, somebody told me on the phone, you would have to go where they would send you. Then when I went to the police station, they said, you would have to go where we will send you, because we can't do it here at the police station. Excuse pardon, forgive me for butchering the English language, as we have an American dialect. Some such qualities and quantities of grammatical usage. Then here's the paper document now that I was making reference to. See, all that. Because it scared the crap out of me to think that here it is, he's going to attempt to make like he's the victim, and like as if I'm making him become subjected to experiencing some kind, sort or type of what you call phone harassment. See, this is the material, paper material. Showing you off. As I peel it away, it's like a miniature telephone back. Ellie dominated the yellow pages, book in his own right. And I would have to fill out all of this and then submit it within a court of law to get a restraining order or protection against him after he took me for a ride. I'm like saying, are you freaking kidding me? I'm the one that has been scammed or conned, and you're to make me out to have become a billionaire. When if anything, I'm the victim to your shenanigans put mildly, then that's not the half of what I had meant to say. You know, you might say the audacity, the nerve of this character, you know. Whereas to people it's like somebody 2 or 3 shades or more darker. He would swear himself as one of these brothers, a black and brown, black and Hispanic brother. You know, pulling wool over my ass like he did, you know. See, so I'm gonna have to give Port an address location of one of the local disintegrated neighborhood community free eating spots, the soup kitchen that he regularly, you know, frequents, as well as I be going to that camp as in attend some such myself. Just in case he may pull another fast one on me because I'm like, man, you ain't gonna try to give me the double round, you know, to attempt to make it seem like I'm the perpetrator of it. You have me end up somewhere where I don't want to be, you know, read between the lines, fill in the blanks. Like saying, if anything, I should have you going somewhere, you know, so that you will not any longer be homeless, if you know what I mean. Read between the lines, fill in the blanks, and hear some more of this stuff. I went down there this morning. I had yet to fill this out, then return. And whereas they said you cannot as yet come in here where you would have to stash your stuff, your personal space belongings, or possessions in a lockbox across the street from this here public facility at a Greyhound station. Because you have got pretty much so a lot of stuff in your school bag, you know. So I like, what? I said, yeah, we cannot let you come in with all this stuff. Your school bag is pretty much so packed for somebody who is not homeless yourself, who is trying to put in an order of protection against a homeless guy or a homeless fella. And I'm like, oh, so this guy, I mean, talk about adding insult to injury with what he had himself had already put me through. You know, like he's attempting to make me have a mental breakdown, you know. Because there come a time where I said, no, I cannot let this guy or this fella stay in my place any longer, you know. Because eventually it finally clicked. This guy or fella, he's running game on me. He's performing, perpetrating a scheme or scam. He's nothing more than a mutual or wealth, you know. So I eventually asked him a question of, so when are you supposed to come? When are you supposed to get some money? When are you supposed to come your way? You know, when is the ship's supposed to come in? When are you supposed to go ahead and take care of that business? You said you got some things in the works, you know. Yeah. When are you supposed to? Oh, you know, yeah, I'm sorry. Right. Then he left some of his personal space belongings or possessions within my place of residence. Where I'm asking questions, never even come and get this stuff, this junk of yours, this worthless junk stuff. And whereas he was saying at one time, no, and this before a holiday, that's the question. He's like saying, "Oh, I can't get it now. I'm spending time with my daughter, you know, or my ex." I said, "What they got to do with me? You know, you're not supposed to leave your stuff in my place of residence, you know, and not ask me before then. Well, I'm with my daughter. I'm saying, come and get your stuff." I told him, yeah, because I'm not running some makeshift storage facility, or I'm not about to let you turn my place of residence into your own makeshift rescue mission men's shelter. So I have to get all this stuff filled out. Let's see how much time I have before I conclude. Because I usually broadcast for half an hour. In fact, I have already broadcast for a whole half an hour, 30 minutes. 2/3 of it at least. So that's what I'm having to do. I'm having to rush to a local Vicente area neighborhood community police station to get the paperwork, as you all have witnessed, to make sure this here character, street hustling character of a homeless white boy don't run even more game upon me, you know, to make me have even more of a headache, or then to make him put me through further stress than what he had, enough as it is the case of situation had done so or did already, because I'm sending him a text message, and, and asking him, so when you gonna come back to self-help recovery meeting? I'm trying to let bygones be bygones. Even giving him tail numbers of some of my self-help recovery buddies, because he claimed that he had put it in the notebook of his, but he can't remember where he had placed it in his card, And so after I had done all that good stuff for him, at some such given moment in time, not to mention the Good Samaritan acts otherwise. Can't do that in here, sir. They're going to put you out. You can't do that in here. Yes, you just don't listen. Can't do that in here. The security guard will put you out of here, man. It's not the place for it. Another one of the lights, homeless bone. Whereas I myself personally, I have never been homeless by choice. Never. There will be one time or another, not to make me sound and seem like I'm contradicting myself, where it would seem as if I had contributed to my homeless status in the past, then because I had violated my golden rule, then I should pay my rent first and foremost before I were to get me one, so far the bottle or what she had the pipe, but I'm in recovery now. And that made me vulnerable to the physical attacks of some of such, street bandits on the prowl, and they jacked me pretty good on the foot and robbed me blind, because I was up under the influence and I couldn't fight them off, none whatsoever. It was like three of them. Whereas a couple of the few of them, or two out of three, I knew. Compared to the last one, the third one, I didn't know him from Tom, Dick, and Harry to who shot John, you know. And whereas I'm coming out of the liquor store, and he being one of the two that I did know, he's saying, "Oh, I see you got you one. How about going back in there and getting me one?" You know what I'm saying? Well, I haven't really paid my rent as yet, so I kind of told myself that I had money. And so from there, he said, "Come on." He said, "You're one of my homies. Come on. You're one of my main homies. You gonna leave me hanging?" So I said, "Well," I said, "Oh, okay. I guess I go back in and get you one." So I went in there to make a purchase of and buy liquor for him for that or something. So I was giving him on time, you know. And then as I'm coming out with him, that's when he whistled for some of such others, and then they bomb rushed me, the other two, and from there they robbed me blind. They took most of my money at that given moment in time. All I had gotten out of the deal was, a bottle of booze myself, a pack of squares, and that Walkman I had, and from there go back to that being my place of residence where I was at, just like half a year ago. Next where it's like I'm explaining to the landlord what happened. Where before then he was like saying, I know you usually pay your rent. You drunk, high or not. He said, where's my rent money? I said, I got robbed. He said, well, that's not my problem. He said, now you go back out there. I don't care what you have to do. Like sell some butt, whatever. I'm not into that. Whatever. He said, but you're gonna have my rent money, like for a time frame period within the next won't be a time frame period, 24 to 72 hours. Otherwise, if you don't want to have it, you have to law. For that given moment in time, I had become homeless till the next payday check month. So the next date for the next month, the um, next paycheck date had rolled around for the next month again. Was I paid my rent to him, but then from there I had to seek, some such place elsewhere because I didn't like the way he had played me, that man. So I know what it's like to be homeless. I'm not trying to go there anytime too soon. Enough again. Maybe a long time to come, if ever again. Like I said before, stay for record. So I say and stay for record again, was I have never been homeless by choice, and I'll be damned if I'm going to let a homeless guy do even more of a social injustice against my person after having run game on me to attempt to make it seem like I'm the building. Call word that I get it together. So that's what happened to me, most recently. Anyway, though, I'm about to conclude some such matters on this last note of interest, and that is by saying, that is, if you haven't gotten Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, I hope that you would think to do so now while the blood is still running warm in your veins. I recognize and realize what he himself had done and did upon the cross of Calvary and the Lord. Suffering at the hands of some sort of Roman soldiers upon the orders of their superiors, religious, political, militaristic, otherwise. Again, nevertheless, ways he went to that cross of Calvary, become the perfect sacrifice, the only sacrifice for you as well as for me. Don't steal no trademark, physical gesture, don't have to copyright it sometimes. And so whereas any of us, being of whatever race and whatever walks of life, fashion, society, lifestyle, represent, old, young alike, both two sexual genders, males and females, representing not only the human species, but then the global community within this post 911 era. By me, apocalyptic day and age, was the doomsday clock is now at a couple few minutes to midnight compared on about formerly pretty prior to then was at a quarter midnight for these by the biblical prophetic time we profess some such faith in it. There we will come and be blessed in one regard or another, one with one. First and foremost, with his salvation, and which is only by which any of us can or could possibly become citizens of the kingdom of heaven. And the second of all is delivery. First, you have got to get his salvation. Otherwise, you have nothing coming so far as blessings. So, you make that transition to the great beginning here after the afterlife. I ever said without, that is the only fire insurance against elected by down hell and of his blood sacrifice as he gives his life on the cross of Calvary and is nailed between two thieves at the hands of Roman soldiers upon the order of the superior to your final destination would be calm to be the lake of fire down hell, because you would burn forever there and be tortured by the devil and his demons for all eternity with the rest of the unsaved off down here. So compared to how we as believers in God, as Christians, be in the company of like-minded believers and in the presence of God and his angels otherwise, across that great divide that separates heaven from hell, and as citizens of the kingdom of heaven. And you all take care and be safe, relax, not stress, peace and love, happiness. Now, as I'm about to close out, I hope that you all had gotten something out of what was said for this present given moment in time, especially the part about Christ's salvation. And of course, tomorrow is not promised to anybody. You'll be walking down the street as pedestrian on the sidewalk. Then from there, a two-ton motor vehicle could jump the curb, hit you, head-on collision, then where do you think you? Hmm? Yes. Where exactly do you think you would be? This type of glass this here. And it's a wrap. Call you to the broadcast. And hope to get back with you all. AKA ASAP